in.
Well, that's what we like.
Wonder how long it would go on for.
Forever.
So it was my slow broadband. It took me a long time to get in the study.
Well, we've got video from Gary.
Had to upload myself.
Yeah, we got a very crisp video from Gary, so we'll have to. I'll definitely work out how we can incorporate that in at some point. I'll ask for video for you because we get it in a single block of pixels like my line used to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Well, it makes it a lot easier when things are fast because I've got everything ready. We're ready to go.
No excuses now for tardiness.
No, that's it. So, Jason and Gary, good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
And we've not incorporated the video yet into our video, but I can see Gary looking in very crisp HD there.
High def Gary. That's a bit worrying, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I'm in high def as well. Jason looks a bit like an Xbox character.
That's me.
That's you. Maybe you don't. That's what you actually look like.
It is. Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, in the airplane films where you hear people talking over a speaker and then you actually hear them and they still sound like they're talking over a speaker. That's what I look like.
Well, we seem to have some good success. We had some good success with the video last week. It was much sharper and much better quality. So anybody that's watched the video playback from last week will see it's a lot better. And even people picking out album covers from the other side of the room, which wasn't possible before.
I just get to see the loads of BT OpenReach fans driving around, knowing they're not doing anything for me.
Yeah. Oh no. That's actually. Did you see that you got a tweet sent to by John about them putting broadband on the moon?
Yes, I did see that. Yeah, and I think I responded back with saying, "You think they'd be definitely not financially viable."
Yeah, it's obviously more financially viable to do broadband on the moon than it is in your village.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I can't remember who it was. I think it might have been John that said perhaps one of the directors lives there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the only way you're going to get broadband is if some BT exec moves into your area.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's like with a roundabout, in a village or a town, you're desperate for a roundabout, it never comes, and then some councillor moves into the area, and then all of a sudden there's a new roundabout.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll have to see if I can fund it myself. Check see if it's tax deductible.
Well, I was talking to someone actually from Trafford Council, which is where our office is, and they're the last council, or Manchester's the last council in Britain to get the rural broadband initiative.
Right.
And they're rolling out the fibre to the cabinet and fibre to the premises as well, and it's co-funded by the government. And he said, surprisingly, BT have won the contract for that, as they have with every other rural broadband contract going.
Yes, yeah. I mean, they've won all the Northamptonshire ones, and it was just announced this week that they've been given another 5.5 million from the broadband. Was it BD UK? So you never know, something might happen eventually.
No.
No.
I mean, joking aside, it's easy to crow on now. I've got this new line that I've been waiting for so long, but it is pretty bad this day and age, and 1 meg, 2 meg, or whatever, and some areas haven't even got it at all. And we're not talking vast areas like the American Great Plains. We're talking a fairly small country in the UK.
Yes, yeah, no, absolutely. I did. I can't remember where I read it now, but I just read a funny story this afternoon with because they've started to count streaming music as in the UK charts, and there was a guy from Sony saying how it was a real shame because the UK broadband infrastructure just it needs improving in order to support music streaming services. And meanwhile, on the other side of the fence, you've got the Sony people launching the Play TV, saying the reason why they've chosen the UK is because it's got one of the best broadband infrastructures going. I think their marketing teams might need to speak to each other.
Yeah, they do somewhat. So aside from broadband, other things we've
Aside
got.
from gloating, you mean?
Yes, yeah. I mean, not to continue this, but we just did a test, and my son's now currently watching Netflix, and in the past that would have just ground this conversation to a complete halt, and it's made no difference, and it makes such a massive difference. I mean, I've been downloading big files, and the fact there was a new Sonos version of the Sonos for Windows, and normally I'd set it going and wait half an hour, and then it's downloaded, and it just opened, and it makes a big difference.
Yeah, it certainly does. Still, you haven't got a Nokia phone yet, have you? So I can still claim that one-upmanship.
You certainly can, yeah.
Small victories.
Yeah, so we can talk.
Unlike England.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, so I saw someone put on Twitter saying England have got more chance of beating no chance of beating Costa Coffee, never mind Costa Rica. But as I don't really follow that, I'm not too worried about it. But one of my lads looked a bit glum the other night when they got beaten. But
yeah,
I'm not too bothered about that. Right, what else? Oh, you mentioned Nokia. We could talk about the latest device from Nokia.
Yes.
Announced today. Yeah, is it the latest and greatest Windows phone?
No.
So we can talk about that. Some OneDrive stuff. Some SkyGo. We'll talk about streaming. We'll talk about SkyGo on the Xbox One. And some smart glass updates, media browser, and actually I also saw something just before we come to record about password synchronization between Windows Phone and Windows 8.1. So I wanted to talk about that as well.
Yes.
So first of all, let's talk about this brand new Windows Phone from Nokia then.
I think there were a number of people expected Microsoft to kill off their Nokia X line as soon as they own the company, but I think this
I wasn't one of them.
I think this will kind of silence those people with them now launching kind of a Generation 2, I guess you could call it, line of Nokia X phones.
Yeah, Nokia X2. So actually quite good spec. I was actually quite surprised, but the bump in spec really, because considering it's basically coming out at sort of sub $100, it's a better spec than the couple of Lumias at the bottom end, which are actually more expensive.
Yeah, that was what I was going to ask you about actually, because I think is it the I can't remember which Lumia it was now. The 5, well, it's certainly better than the 525 because that's got a really small memory. But I think even one of the 6 series has got sort of less megapixel camera, or at least it's not got a front camera and less RAM.
Yeah. So these are 4.3-inch displays as the X was. 1 GB RAM, which is a good step. Dual SIMs, which is quite interesting for the emerging market side of things. Obviously, that was one of the big selling points of the big latest Windows Phone. 5-megapixel camera, which isn't bad for the market they're aiming for, and a 1.2 gig dual-core processor. So I do a good step up from the X series, because the one thing I would have said against the X was it was a little bit underpowered. So it's using the Android open source again, so you're not going to get the Google bits and pieces, although someone's sure to hack that. And again, it looks very like Windows Phone. It's got nice little tiles on the front and access to all the Windows ecosphere stuff. So you get your Office and your Facebooks and your Skype and everything all plumbed into it. So basically, anything Microsoft's invested in at some point over the years is featured on the front screen.
Yeah, I think I do remember some of the reviews from the first X series, and they did mention the lagginess of the operating system. One thing I didn't catch is this based on a more up-to-date version of Android?
They haven't. I don't think they've actually said that. I mean, it just says it's the X2 OS, so which probably would say it was slightly more advanced. But to be honest, because the divergence they've had from Google, most of the stuff which has gone in on the later version of Android has been around UI UX stuff. So there's not much under the skin which they'll be missing. A few bits and pieces, but most of that's sort of related to sensors and things, and of course these things haven't got those sensors in. So, but I mean, I was just watching the video for it, and it definitely looks a lot less laggy than the one I played with. I mean, obviously videos always can be fooled a bit, but it seems to run very smoothly.
And I think this kind of underlines. Mary Jo Foley had a really great piece how she'd been talking to Microsoft, and they were basically saying that they're kind of literally working on the basis of bring your own service. So if they can get people using free services like Outlook and OneDrive and Skype and all those and Office, that potentially when those people then go into business, that they'll think, or maybe suggest things like OneDrive for Business or Office 365 and those sort of things. So I think that's where these phones are coming from, isn't it? It's really a case of better to have someone on the Microsoft platform than necessarily sell them a Windows phone.
Yeah. And there are certain markets where it's very difficult to still sell Windows Phone. I mean, India being particularly one of where there's a real sort of anti-Microsoft flavour, but this gets Microsoft back in by the back door. It'll be interesting to see how these are branded going forward, because I'm sure they are going to keep them going.
Yes.
So I wonder if they'll be just the X series, or whether they'll keep the Nokia name for them.
Yeah, I think the bit that kind of still puzzles me is that it's now yet another store that people are having to write and develop apps, and it is Android, so there isn't probably that much change required, but it's still another potentially subscription for developers to be able to submit their applications, and also I get that people that own a Nokia X might one day look to move up to Windows Phone, but it's still the same thing that prevents people switching from Android to Windows Phone, in that you've then invested in a number of applications that aren't going to come across with you. And I think it'd be interesting if they could solve that problem, whereby if you bought an application on the Nokia X line of phones, that you automatically get the Windows Phone version.
Yeah,
and that would be easy to do. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen one of these devices up close, but I wonder, maybe Gary, whether or not purchases are done through a Microsoft account.
I think they're done through. Well, they were originally done through a Nokia account.
Right.
So I haven't actually checked out next to how they're doing it. I mean, there was obviously they'd use Nokia's in with all the operators to get operator billing on most of them, which is a huge thing. So the Nokia X store was able to be you could do over the air purchases. Using the operator billing, so I think that would probably is still the case.
Because I was just thinking, if it was tied into a Microsoft account, then there wouldn't be too much of a step to be able to link the X2 apps in with the Windows Phone apps to do that.
Yeah, it makes kind of sense to do that, as long as you've got both apps on the thing. I mean, obviously, the one thing which does sort of point in that direction is the whole cross-platform development stuff. I know we've got Xamarin over in the UK this week, sort of preaching the gospel with Microsoft, sort of in joint events. So I think there's definitely some push that way, and obviously Xamarin already supports the Nokia X and the X2 as of today.
Yeah, they're presenting at the Windows Phone user group, aren't they? Xamarin?
They are. So they're there tomorrow, and there's also a Microsoft cross-platform development day, which I'm at on Thursday as well. And Xamarin buy me drinks as well, so that's all right.
Always a bonus.
Always a bonus. Full disclosure.
Everybody keep an eye on Gary's Twitter timeline tomorrow night.
That's be Thursday night. Tomorrow night, they always Windows user groups always got drinks, but and pizza. But no, but I think that it's interesting, because they're saying that it's one of the most subscribed to of these events for some time. So there's definitely an interest out there on cross-platform development, and it makes a lot of sense. If you've done a Windows Universal app, it's not that difficult to port it to being a Xamarin Universal app. A little bit of work. Actually, there's a really cool post out there, which I'll have to try and dig up somewhere online, about how you can use the App Studio and take the code which is in App Studio and basically take all the services part of it and plug it into a Xamarin application. So you don't have to even basically, all you have to do is do a little bit of UI work, and you've got your app from there. And you can almost see that taking one more step, and they might actually just get App Studio producing Xamarin forms language stuff to get forward.
Because often the majority of the work is in the service, the hooking of the services and the back end. Anyway, the UI isn't always sort of the most difficult part of it, but so if you could separate that out and have it across both, then it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes the UI is the most time-consuming part of it.
Yeah.
To get it right for everything, but obviously with Xamarin Forms, you've now got this ability to, as we mentioned the other day, to do one build for Windows. Well, sorry, not for Windows, for Android for iPhone and across all the Android and iPhone versions. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I wonder on these X phones. Anyway, I guess there's not a huge amount of market really for apps on it. I would imagine that you've got the built-in things, Skype and email and things like that. Maybe the majority of those are just going straight for the sort of the built-in services because of the markets that they're going at. So the apps probably isn't as big as it is switching from say Android or from Windows Phone. From Android or from iOS, where there are a vast array of apps and more than Windows Phone.
Yeah, indeed.
So it probably doesn't hold it back as much, but yeah, it's interesting to see how they market this. Are we going to see these in the UK?
I don't think they've actually said which markets they're going. They just said emerging markets again, so that's unlikely to be in the UK that early. The X is sort of snuck into the UK, so I think the X2 might do the same as well.
Yeah, I think you can get the sort of expanses and these sort of imports.
Yeah.
But I think for the UK, I think the Windows Phone is the low end Windows phones are a good enough price that they don't really need a lower end phone.
No, and there's not the impetus to have that phone and be an Android one, like there are certain markets.
I was actually in a Carphone warehouse trying to buy a Nokia Lumia 630, and I always take what salespeople say with a pinch of salt, but this particular branch had sold out, and he said they'd been selling really well. Like I say, take it with a pinch of salt whether or not that was just an excuse for not having any stock or if it was the truth, but certainly said it'd been selling well.
Yeah, I think there is some truth in it. I think they may have limited stock to start with, though, compared to some other phones. But they do seem to always sell out of Windows phones in the Carphone warehouse.
Well, as I've mentioned before, my son loves his Windows Phone and really pleased with it. So, and that was I think £86 for his phone. Absolutely loves it, and I think Microsoft certainly got it right on for that sort of age group.
Yeah, we know we talked about the World Cup earlier, and so we're not you weren't overly interested. One thing I was interested in was watching spectators, because often the phones come out as things happen, and a surprising number of Lumias there. Well, I suppose I shouldn't be surprised since it's Brazil, but and it was usually when I was watching Latin American Cup teams playing. But yeah, certainly when Mexico were playing the other night, there was an awful lot of Lumias in the ground.
I was at a wedding on Friday, and there's loads of pictures going around, and I always do find it interesting having to know what phones people have got, and basically it was iPhones, mainly the sort of the 5S type thing. I did see a 5C, which you don't see many of those sort of out. You might see the ones. So a few iPhones, lots of Samsung Galaxies of S3s, S4s, maybe an S5, and quite a few Lumias as well. And Lumia, a lot of the sort of people who wouldn't consider themselves technical of getting the Lumias. So people just want a smartphone. They don't necessarily want to go for a branded phone. Got the Lumias there, and the 625 seemed to be the one that was most out there. I think 625. Nice colourful ones with some colourful cases as well, and they stand out as well. Actually, they look pretty good.
I think it was WP Central picked up on one of the Microsoft job listings where they were trying to bring someone in to bring Bing into 75 worldwide markets. I guess trying to build Bing up to the same level that it is in the States in terms of, I guess, primarily around the expansion of Cortana and those kind of localized services.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. You do need to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I actually think, although it's been slow, I think Bing's starting to get somewhere now. There's definitely the curated content you're getting with Bing now, particularly things like the news apps, the sports apps, and that. It was interesting because I was one of the driving forces for purchases of tablets from John Lewis when I was talking to them at the weekend. They just said they'd actually been running the Surfaces with Bing Sports on them. With the World Cup feed in there, and they made loads of sales because of that. It was a real attractor to people to actually go and to buy that particular tablet.
Yeah, no, I mean the Bing apps are really well done. I've started using the Bing Health apps for monitoring kind of food I've eaten and whatnot, and they do work really really well, especially the integration with the Health Vault and things like that.
Actually, surprised how good the news app is. When
Yes.
it first shipped, you kind of back with Windows 8, you kind of dismiss it. Oh, it's just kind of a news app, and I'll never use that. I'll just stick with my other sources. But actually, I do find it very good, and I have seen, especially when I have my Surface at the side of the desk when I'm at work, and I've seen quite a lot of breaking news actually come through the live tile.
Yeah.
And that surprised me really. That I've seen breaking news on there before I've seen it on Twitter and other sources. So I think that's been quite surprising. It was quite good, really.
Yeah. I mean, I use that for digesting all my news. Not necessarily RSS feeds, but local UK and tech news. I use it all the time. And as I say, I've got it on my Windows phone, so I get breaking news alerts as a toast notification. And yeah, it's really good.
The one thing, one sort of slight glitch I've noticed recently is I quite often get on the Media Center PC or the PC in my living room, it won't come back out of news articles, which is a bit frustrating. So I have to close the whole app down and go back into it. But that's only a minor glitch though, compared to some of the other real advantages. But I think the biggest advantage is the fact it collects content from so many different sources. So whereas most of the other apps are very limited in the sources they get it from, it be BBC or whatever, you just get every sort of source under the sun, and that's quite useful. That's
kind of against the trend almost, isn't it? Now, we talked about this on the show a few months ago, didn't we? How you used to get these apps that brought all things together, and now we tend to see a lot of separate apps, separate sources. And I think we saw the Daily Mirror, I think, has launched a Windows app today. But yeah. That is a good thing about the Bing News app. It does bring sources in together, and you can add your own.
Yeah, which is great. I think it's really good.
So anyway, so that's the story. Nokia, the X2 announced today, and I'll include a link in the show notes because that's got the video that Gary talked about as well, which gives you a good idea of how it looks. The Surface 3 has gone on sale this week. Have you seen any sort of initial reviews yet?
Not really. Most of the reviews sort of come out before the actual release. I think Ed Bolton had quite a good article about why people are giving it really poor reviews.
Yes.
And it's all Microsoft's fault.
Yeah, they completely mixed up the marketing message, didn't they?
Yeah.
That's not like Microsoft. So what was Ed's post? I did read it, but go on here.
So basically, he was saying that the real problem was that they pitched it as being a replacement for your MacBook, and then handed it over to people where it would never be a replacement for a MacBook because of the way they actually use them. Because if you actually think about how bloggers and journalists use technology, it's very different to most people use technology. I mean, we're typing lots of articles up. You're keying lots and lots of stuff in. Most people don't do that. They might use a spreadsheet occasionally. They're very rarely. You might have to do project plans and things like that. But most people aren't typing all the time on the computer. They might access things, browse things. Certainly not for domestic use anyway. Whereas bloggers and press people are going to be typing all the time. So the design of the Surface isn't a replacement for something you stick on your desk and type on. Unless, of course, you start having to put the dock on and the keyboard on. And I think he basically really addressed the whole point and explained why it was actually a really good device.
Because at the Surface Pro 3 launch, the tagline was basically the tablet that can replace your PC. And then they sent out these review units, but with the tagline, the tablet that can replace your MacBook. And anyone that's tied into the Apple ecosystem or used to the way that the MacBook works, Windows is going to be completely foreign to them. Whereas someone that is used to using a Windows PC that's looking for something a bit more mobile that can act as a PC, then yes, that could be a replacement.
Yeah, and I think also you make a good point about the Mac ecosphere there. There's a lot of programs which are just are designed for people in the press industry, and certainly layout apps and things like that, which are only on the Mac and therefore not going to be accessible on your PC.
I mean, changing platform is can be difficult anyway. I went from my Windows 7 machines to the MacBook Air, and there's a period of adjustment as you've got to find different apps. So there's no Windows Live Writer, you've got to find something to replace that, and there's and so on. So there's always that. So yeah, I can see Ed's point. There's a compromise before you even start. Really, you're looking at it to get the honest reviewers or a representative review. You're looking for people that are currently Windows users looking to get a tablet, and then instead ditch their laptop and don't bother with a tablet and get this one device.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like I've said before, I think I would struggle to want to use a Surface Pro 3 as my one and only tablet. If I was traveling on business, I might take it as my only tablet, but around the home, I couldn't imagine it replacing, an iPad Mini if I was that way inclined, or a Surface Mini, or even my Lumia 2520.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've as we've discussed in the past, I use my Surface a lot. But when I come to browse Flipboard or Facebook, I would either pick up my iPad Mini or the Toshiba. It's just a better form factor for browsing. If I see an article in there, I think, okay, I'm going to write a blog post about this, and then I save it to Pocket and then open my Surface and type it up on that. So that's the best combination for me.
The one thing I would like to have seen was the 500 gigabyte model have 16 gig of RAM. Because I think if you're looking to purchase that, you're looking at as a real PC replacement when looking at running at Hyper-V. And in fact, Paul Thurrott had a nice article about how enabling Hyper-V completely turns off connected standby because it changes the power management profiles. I remember there's a guy who I follow on Twitter called the Virtual PC Guy who's been with Microsoft many years, ever since the Virtual PC days, and he had a nice blog post about adding a boot menu option where you could choose at boot whether or not you wanted Hyper-V enabled or not, which could be one workaround to that.
Yeah, that would make some sense.
Yeah,
I think I love the idea. The Surface. I haven't seen one that week. I did actually think it would make a really good development device. But I would want the dock for that, and be able to pick it up and carry it with me to demo things on. That'd be really quite cool. It's a shame it doesn't run Apple Mac, so I can run the development stuff I need to run.
Yeah. You get a Hackintosh on there, you'd be all right.
Yeah. I think it is actually quite strange these days. It never really happened the other way around because Apple have keyed it tied down so tightly.
Yeah, well, Apple kind of make it easy. Well, Windows, first of all, Windows is available, readily available, and Apple give you drivers. So
yeah,
not the other way around. But people have done it. But yeah, I agree though. The Surface 3, an excellent development machine. But if you're going to use it for a long period of time as for development, then you're probably going to want a proper keyboard with it. And although I do like the Type keyboard, I mean, use all blog posts I do it that. I'm not sure how much development time I'd want to use on it, but like you said, as a tablet, I still think you need a small form factor one, which is where I think the Surface Mini would have come in. You could have paired the two together, everything synchronized, and that would have been a nice device. Didn't one of the Microsoft online documentations refer to the Surface Mini?
Yes, it does. In fact, it's a Surface Pro 3 user guide, which actually refers to the Surface Mini when it's talking about the pen. So yeah, I mean, from all the sort of rumours and hearsay and everything I've heard that they were pretty damn close to announcing at that session.
Yeah.
When they announced the Surface Pro 3 and just pulled out probably a few weeks before, but whether it'll ever turn up, I don't know. Yeah,
I still would. I mean, I know we've got things like the Encore and everything, and the new Encore and the 7-inch one that's going to be nice and cheap as well, but. I still like the idea of a 7-inch or an 8-inch Surface, should say, and with the pen as well, because I think that small form factor with the pen would actually be quite a nice little. It's notepad size, isn't it? It's perfect.
It is, and that pen's optimised for taking notes. It really works well with OneNote. So I consider that being an excellent note-taking device. So, yeah,
it would be kind of like my UMPC, my Samsung Q1 UMPC with a pen.
Yeah,
but work properly.
Work properly, yeah.
I never really got that to work very well, but I should take it to meetings though, and In fact, I remember when because then my kids were quite young then, so it was, you did the old, children's party. Anybody with young kids will know you got this thing with the children's parties, on Sunday, and you got all the class round, and you go to some horrible place where screen kids running around. I used to take my Q1 with me and used to get very strange looks because that was pre-iPad days, and I've written many an article with the pen and then in OneNote and then translated it later. That was on the Q1. So I think the something like this Encore with the pen would be quite good actually.
Mm.
I do like this form factor. It's a great one. In fact, and I've got to mention this, the Encore as perhaps a long-term use of it now. It's a really good device for running Windows on, and the connected standby on it works really well. I think I last charged this sometime last week, and it's got about 80% battery because I haven't used it much over the weekend. Whereas I find the Surface, even if you don't use it, it still drains the battery. This, it doesn't. It seems to keep the charge, but when you switch it on, it's still instant on. It's not like it's resuming from hibernate and having to load it back in. It's still instant, and I'm quite impressed with that. So I think, aside from the thickness, it's a little thicker than the iPad. It's a very good device, and I'd be quite interested to see one of the second generation ones if they're going to be a bit thinner. I think that would be really, really nice.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to play with one of those yet. But I'm sure we will do it shortly. But it does. I mean, I think the 7-inch has got something going for it actually. And obviously you wouldn't want to use desktop on it, but certainly it would be nice for.
Yeah, and I think as we've talked about in the past, maybe the Surface Mini will come with a new OS, this combined Windows Phone, Windows RT operating system.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, the apps will be there, the universal apps. Yeah,
I mean that's the good cool thing about the universal apps, if they truly are universal.
Yeah. Okay, what else I want to mention? Oh, we talked about OneDrive many times, and we're big fans of OneDrive. Very happy with that service. But now it's even better for new users because you get from the initial 2 gig, you now get 15 gig free.
Yeah, no, that's pretty impressive actually. 15 gig free.
Yeah, I mean, because that's quite significant in terms of the amount of storage you might need from uploading photos, particularly from phones like the the Nokia PureView phones, where you've got the big image size, but also probably for most people, I wouldn't imagine they've necessarily got more than that unless they're really, generating a lot of video. If it's just photos and documents, then that's ideal.
Yeah, and that's the nice thing about that as well is it's out of the box. That storage is there, isn't it? You can just get it. You don't have to. I mean, with Dropbox, you can get more storage in the initial amounts by adding your photo uploads and getting referrals and things like that. But this is just working straight out of the box.
Did you see Ed Bott's excellent post about how the likes of Box and Dropbox could be facing extinction?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's a worry for those guys because the power of the default is very powerful.
It is indeed. How long before we get an EU ruling on that? OneDrive and everything.
Yeah.
But if they do that, Google will have to do it.
Yeah, I was just going to say there's plenty of others already doing it, isn't there? But as Ed Bott points out, cloud storage has become a feature of the operating system. Apple are launching or reconfiguring their iDrive, and obviously Chromebooks already offer integrated cloud storage, and it becomes a feature, a bit like as Ed Bott says, the TCP/IP stack. There was lots of companies making a lot of money selling TCP/IP stacks, but where are they now?
I remember that you had to download the WinSock DLL.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, I remember those days. Yeah. One of the things I thought was really interesting on this announcement was the fact that Office 365 subscribers then get 1 terabyte of storage as part of their subscription.
Yes, and that's even the home, isn't it?
Home. Yeah, I mean. Yeah. And that must really scare someone like Dropbox, because basically you're saying, well, to get the same level of on Dropbox, I did actually work it out the other day, but it was an incredible amount of money to get up to 1 terabyte of storage. And certainly will pay for your Office 365 subscription.
Yeah, and obviously that includes the Office desktop applications and the 1 terabyte of storage. So that's phenomenal.
Yeah. The thing that the reason why I switched from live mesh as it was at the time, which I always really liked that, the live desktop and live mesh desktop and all that. But the reason why I switched to Dropbox from that was because I was doing more cross-platform stuff, so with the Mac and Android. But with Microsoft offering all this on every platform now, then there isn't really a huge benefit for me to switch over, apart from there isn't a huge benefit for me to stick with Dropbox because I get a massive amount of free storage with OneDrive. So I have both now, so I've got the benefit of both. But the advantage of Dropbox for a few years was the cross-platform, and now that's kind of going away. A bit like Evernote as well, actually. Same kind of thing that I would imagine is hitting them.
Yeah, although Evernote, I've got some quite good backing, so perhaps they might have to hang around a bit longer.
But I love Evernote. I use that all the time. But up until recently, I couldn't use OneNote because it wasn't cross-platform. But now it is. It's it's something you can consider.
Yeah, and I love the way they've implemented OneNote on the other platforms as well.
Yeah, but for Dropbox, I could see a problem with that. I mean, there are some people that not Microsoft fans, don't want a Microsoft account, and will be quite happy to stick with Dropbox. So I think they'll be okay. But then, if you really hate Microsoft that much, and you're probably an Android fan, so there's Google Drive. Or if you hate Android and Microsoft, then there's the Apple alternative. So I imagine they are in a difficult position, and maybe they're one major outage or security violation away from being real trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean Dropbox already had a couple, didn't they, with a sign-on issue. And one thing I was just thinking is I wonder how long it would actually take me to fill 1 terabyte of storage with my 512 kilobit upload.
A while.
Maybe well, me and Gary about half an hour, but for you it could be a while. I mean, one of the things that I wanted to upload all my old photos from going back sort of 7 or 8 years to OneDrive, and I always thought I'd do it, but it was something like, I think I zipped it up once and it came to about 7 gigs, so I didn't upload it to OneDrive because of the size. But now that's not an issue. Got the fast broadband, so I may as well just get those up there and not worry about them anymore. And just because I think when I look at my storage on OneDrive, I got the offer that I think with the Surface 2 you got, was it 100 gig for a year or something like that? I can't remember. But you got a little voucher in the box, and so I think I've ended up with something like 300 gig of OneDrive storage now. So I think I might as well just get those photos uploaded there and not worry about them disappearing.
Yeah, I mean that's certainly what I've done. It took me a time, but I did manage to get all our photos uploaded. And as you say, it's at least then that was kind of part of my journey about turning off the home server, because it just meant I didn't necessarily need to worry about keeping a copy. And I'm just looking at my OneDrive. I've got 25 gigabyte free because I'm grandfathered into the old storage space they used to give away.
Yeah.
I've got my Surface bonus of 200 gigabytes, and then I've got my Enthusiast bonus from Windows Phone of 20 gigabytes, and then I've got my camera roll bonus of 3 gigabytes. So I've got 248 in total.
That's exactly what I've got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, admittedly, the Enthusiast bonus is only till December this year, but the Surface bonus is November 2015. So, and plus I've got an Office 365 small business, I think it is, professional subscription. So in some ways, it makes sense for me to actually put all my personal stuff in there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think now I've got the broadband. I think I'm gonna get on with that and get those uploaded, and then I don't have to. If the hard drive goes. So that's all that's on there that's critical. I mean, I've got music on there, but that's all backed up in Google Music.
Yeah, the one thing I still would like to see with the client application is the ability for it to sync shared files offline. So I've got all our pictures shared with my wife, but it won't. As far as she's concerned, when she looks through the local client app, that it doesn't exist.
Right.
Yeah, that's the problem. I think the other thing which I think is a little bit of a glitch is the Windows Phone thing. I noticed when I was travelling that a lot of the photographs I have on my Windows Phone didn't actually automatically upload. And apparently, if it can't connect within a certain amount of time after you've actually taken the photograph, it never gets sent up to OneDrive.
Oh, right.
And it never resyncs, which I think is a bit of a glitch, to be honest. I think it should do.
Yeah.
There are some apps out there which will actually force an update, but it's just it seemed a bit restrictive for me. I was looking for something there was actually a photograph I'd taken off for something I was reviewing for the magazine, and I couldn't find it anywhere until went back to the phone. Yeah, it's on the phone. Why was it not on the OneDrive? And it just happened to be I was out of signal area at that time. I'd taken that picture. Only for about an hour, which seems a very short amount of time not to retry. The next picture had gone up, but that one hadn't.
Yeah, that's the thing. You want to make sure that all this is working correctly.
Yeah, it wants to be seamless, really. It
Yeah.
wants to just work.
Yeah.
So I dare say that's something they might look at. I mean, I noticed there was a lot of posts about it on the Microsoft support site, so I'm sure they're aware of it.
Yeah. But I think it's a good service, OneDrive, and I think extra storage is pretty good.
Yeah, and getting extra storage for nothing.
Always good.
Always good. I think that's probably because Microsoft keep expanding their ability to supply cloud storage, so that it makes sense to spread the love.
Well, and again, it's locking, isn't it? Once you've got 15 gigs worth of data uploaded there, moving to another service is actually a bit of a pain, especially if you're on 1 meg download. Okay, next thing I want to talk about is if you can explain the technicalities on this. So I saw a blog post tonight about password synchronization into Explorer, which is another service that you could subscribe to from a third party that potentially could be on the way out if because of this. So what's this? So password synchronization.
Okay, so at the moment in Internet Explorer you can save passwords, and until fairly recently they didn't synchronize between anything. They just were only on that particular copy of Internet Explorer. Started to do Windows 8.1, you could actually synchronize them between 8.1 clients, and now they're saying that if you've keyed a password in and saved it on Windows, it will be actually accessible on Windows Phone as well, and vice versa. So this is a bit like the Apple keychain thing they've done, where once you put it in your Apple keychain, as long as you iCloud access, you've got the ability to access passwords on your iPad as well.
Yeah.
As on your thing. It's not quite as clever in that at the moment it doesn't have the ability to auto-generate passwords or create random ones like the Apple one can. But you could see that coming, and then people like LastPass and all those other people may be worried.
Yeah.
And there will be more EU complaints.
I mean, that's something I use. I use the one obviously on Chrome. It syncs on the Chrome app, and then it's on my iPad on the Chrome app and on my phone. So I'm quite happy to see this. But is this Windows 8.1 as part of the new version of Windows Phone?
I think I didn't see whether it was restricted. I would think it would have to be Windows Phone.
I think it is Windows Phone 8.1 because that includes
it would have to be
Explorer 11. Yeah.
It's the IE version rather than the fact it's Windows Phone 8.1. But obviously that's only on 8.1.
And that got me thinking, because they've been talking about promoting a few Windows Phone 8.1 features just lately, and I wondered whether or not they're getting ready for the rollout, because I know that Nokia Infos and Extras was updated last week, I think it was.
Yep.
And I know from when my wife got a replacement 820 that although the Lumia Black update was installed, it didn't know it was installed until the Infos and Extras was updated.
So interestingly, the support date for Phone 8.1 is actually starting today, if you look at the support site.
Right, yeah. You should be a detective, Gary.
I can't claim total access for that one, because it was actually posted on an Indian Windows site. but apparently that's the case. It actually starts today. So you can read a lot into that. I wouldn't read too much into it.
Yeah, because there are some phones shipping now, aren't there?
Yeah, it's true.
But yeah,
it can't be that far away. I mean, I know they're probably waiting to get maybe quite a few carriers on board before they actually officially announce it. But it does seem a bit odd. It feels like it's dragging on. And maybe that's because we've been lucky enough to be on the developer preview. But it does seem to be a long time before it's actually available properly.
Yeah. Well, there's still for glitches to sort out. So. And I think they've also got to wait for the. I mean, obviously they're in control of the Nokia device BIOSes and drivers, etc. But there's still some third parties out there. Well, HTC out there. Ian's provider.
It will be interesting to see, because Nokia have been very open the Nokia, with the Lumia Black and the Amber update, they actually had a page that listed all the carriers in all the countries of when it had been released, and Microsoft have shied away from including that information, which they used to do with Windows Phone 7.
Yes, so, they have a special site, didn't they?
Yeah, so it will be interesting just to see how open they are now. They own and control that part of the website.
And so obviously tied to this as well is the Cortana release for the UK, which couple of weeks ago we were hearing was imminent, and then we heard that it was probably before the end of June, and we're getting very close to the end of June now, so still no sign of that. I keep checking I do the thing, check for updates, but nothing comes through.
I keep tweeting the Cortana account, and I keep getting a response back saying we can't talk about that yet.
It would tie in if they released at the same time, wouldn't it?
It's like that CIA account, isn't it? We can neither confirm nor deny. Neither this is our first tweet.
Yes, yeah. I can't wait to try it at Cortana. I mean, it's quite good for me. I haven't adjusted all my settings because normally that's the sort of thing I do, but I've decided to be patient. But my patience is starting to wear thin.
I think Ian should actually ask Cortana. Actually, can't because you can't get the.
I can't get the US keyboard on my HTC.
You should have put Nokia. I'll get that one in for you, Jace.
Yeah. I don't, because I keep looking at the 1520 page on Amazon, and to see, I think there's sort of 330, 340 now.
Yeah.
Very tempting. Unlocked.
What is starting to also look tempting is that there's quite a few good offers out on the 1020s at the moment. And I think that's probably because the 930 is due out fairly shortly, and people are sort of seeing that has been the next premium one. But the 1020s have been dropping a couple of £100 in price. And I noticed eBay had it on their today's deal at one point this week.
I think if I saw it, for below 300, I'd be very, very tempted. And Amazon, the problem with Amazon is you search on Amazon for something, and then they send you emails about it for ad infinitum. So if I see one that comes through at a low price, it's going to be very tempting. So
eBay are currently doing the 1020 at $369.99 unlocked.
Right. Yeah.
Which is, I mean, it's still expensive, but for that phone, that's pretty good.
I'm very tempted, and I just want. It kind of part of me thinks, well, maybe I should wait to see what else is coming out. When it does phone, but you can always do that.
You can
I was just looking on Expanses, and they had a pre-registered page. They've now got a pre-order page up for the 930. So that's going to be one phone I'm going to be very tempted by.
Yeah, that's the one you're interested in.
I think the one I'll probably hold out for is the McLaren.
Yes, I've heard this rumoured.
Yeah, so it's got a great name. I mean, that's a great name.
Obviously, a fantastic name.
What if it's licensed that?
No chance.
McLaren. It's obviously not going to do very well at the moment, is it?
Okay, Jason, you're breaking up.
But I could imagine that actually being sponsoring McLaren. Could you imagine?
Well, it used to be a few phones, McLaren branded phone, because obviously Vodafone were there with their title sponsor, and I remember many of. I can't remember. They were Nokias actually. There was a few Nokias and some Samsung sponsored, sort of Samsung whatever it was, but they were just feature phones. But McLaren are very tight on their branding, so.
I'm amazed they've even got away with it as a project name but I guess that's not meant to be public, so it's been leaked, hasn't it? So, I guess that's how they get away with it, isn't it?
And then this phone is going to be their next sort of flagship phone.
Yeah, almost certainly. It's the one which is rumoured to have all the 3D sensor type things on it. Some of which sound absolutely fabulous, the sort of things I'd love to be able to do. So I think that's certainly. I mean, the idea of actually knowing how you're holding a phone. I mean, the one which I think is brilliant is the fact that things like it won't switch orientations when you're reading in bed, because it'll know you're actually in that prone position from how you're holding the phone. So those sort of things I think would be really, really good.
Yeah.
But that's going to be, I think, the replacement of the 1020, because it sounds like it's going to have a really good camera sensor and everything on it as well. So.
And when do you think? When's the rumored release for that?
end of the year is somewhere.
Right.
So I mean, anything which is end of the year for the States really has to be out before October.
Right.
So
I think there's been some talk, hasn't there, that it's got a requirement for, is it Windows Phone 8.1 update 1 or even update 2?
2 updates, 1 or 2, yeah. So
Yeah.
so
Because
that's-
update 1 is supposed to be August, which again brings me back to my point about, Windows 8.1 should be coming pretty soon.
yeah. Although aren't the updates going to be actually direct downloads now with 8.1? Didn't I hear that somewhere? That
No, I hadn't heard that.
you'd actually be able to bypass the things, but only the sort of full ROM rebuilds will have to be.
Right,
Right.
that'd be good. That would certainly be a step forward. I mean, I must admit, the developer program kind of mitigates all that limitation, but as I said before, I wouldn't necessarily want to put my wife on that program, but it would be nice if she could get the latest updates as well.
Well, my son's on the program.
He's a developer.
Yeah. Scratch developer, but he's a developer.
He's a developer, yeah.
What do you think about this Amazon phone?
Well, Amazon Fire, yeah, interesting. I mean, talk about 3D in a different way. That one, these ideas of full sensors, full cameras around them, so you can actually. I mean, the videos on it look quite clever. I just don't see a market for it. It's a phone which doesn't have the support of loads of developers. It's got even less apps than Windows Phone's got. Its main claim to fame is that you can buy things on Amazon with it. So I think Amazon should give it away to every one of their Prime subscribers. Other than the other way around, where they're actually giving Prime to anybody who buys it, which is
Yeah.
It's quite expensive. I know it's not available in the UK, but in the States, I think it's quite expensive, isn't it?
yeah. I mean, you do get a year's subscription to Prime with it, which is obviously offsets the price a little bit. But yeah, it's expensive. I guess it has the advantage of it. Does if you've got that year's subscription to Prime, you've got the music and you've got the videos in that subscription as well. So I guess there's quite a bit of content with it, but. It's a clever phone, but I struggle to see the market.
I mean, it's a gateway to buying stuff from Amazon, isn't it? I mean, it's even got a dedicated button to bring up the camera to scan an item to then find it on the Amazon website. It's
Actually, I thought that's quite impressive. The ability to scan the world around you, and I actually got an email from Amazon the other day because I'm a part of their developer. Saying here's the API for Firefly. Plug anything you like into it, basically. So there's ways and means to actually sort of get it ready to recognise your sort of objects. Which would be great if there's a lot of phones out there, but I just can't see there being a lot of those phones out there.
The Fire tablets have sold reasonably well, haven't they? But
yeah, but it's a different thing there. The Fire tablet is basically sold on the fact it's a Kindle.
Yeah.
So you got that. So people buy it as a more advanced book reader, and also it's the price sold on price. It's a good tablet for the money. Whereas I'm not sure this phone's a good phone for the money.
Yeah. I think your point there about the App Store is a good one. Though. So if you, although it runs Android apps, you're not going to get all the apps from the Android store. So you're going to see. I mean, they're going to get there in time, but there's not as many, and they always take longer to get on there. I've noticed through just looking at the Amazon App Store on Android. There's less on there. I suppose for some people it would be. Maybe if you're looking at a consumer, maybe the older end of the market who just wants a phone and they maybe understand how the Kindle works, and so we say, oh, this looks like a decent smartphone, I'll have a look at that. But I think certainly in the UK, a lot of people tend to go into phone stores. They're not all, they're not like we tend to look at, unlock ones and things like that. But the majority of people go into a store and sign a contract.
I think it is. It's interesting how Amazon are really, in many ways, kind of keeping the best Amazon experience for their own devices. I know Windows Phone and Windows 8 is a fledgling product, but the whole Amazon experience is so hit and miss. The Kindle app is so basic. I've said before, my wife complains how she can't find books on there. I think the iPad app is more on equal terms. I'm not sure what the Android application's like, but it does seem like Apple would rather you bought one of their devices as opposed to almost the opposite of what Microsoft's trying to do in terms of getting you into the Amazon ecosystem. No, they want to sell you a device.
Yeah, I think with the certainly pricey phones, they've got some markup on it, but like Gary said, I think they want you just consuming their store, and I'm surprised they don't make. I know what you mean about the Windows 8.1 app. if I'm going to read, I use my iPad because the app's just better. The Windows one never syncs properly, and it's got various. It's mainly the syncing actually that is the issue I have with it. You know, the way it syncs where you've read up to. It never seems to work properly on the Windows one, and that's sort of pretty critical part of reading experience if you're going to switch from devices.
Yeah, and obviously the whole Amazon Music system just doesn't exist in Windows apart from on the desktop.
Yeah. I just actually think about it because I'd forgotten the 32 gig model exists. So $199 for that, less if you were actually buying a Prime subscription, which is what, $89 in the States?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so it's only just a little bit more expensive than the Nokia X2. So I guess that is a good competitor in that respect. But I still just think you'd go out and buy a normal Android phone.
Yeah. I mean, you could get a Samsung, whatever. Get S something or whatever for a similar price, and still install Amazon Music and the Kindle app.
Yeah.
I think it's for people that just that don't want to understand about ecosystems and things. They just like the Kindle. They need a smartphone, and that'll do. Job done. It's not really someone who's looking for the massive range of apps and cutting edge phone or whatever.
I mean, the one thing they are heavily pushing again with the Amazon phone is the SOS button. Getting that real-time assistance with your phone, but I'm not necessarily sure people really need that level of assistance unless something's going horribly wrong.
No.
In which case the phone probably doesn't work anyway.
Okay, so just one other thing I really want. There's a few other things, but one other thing I want to discuss before we finish. Sky Go on the Xbox has always been a pretty good feature, actually. If you're a Sky subscriber and you get Sky Go, where you can authorize 2 devices, and then you could go onto it, say Xbox 360, and watch a lot of the Sky channels live and catch up and box sets and things. And I've always thought it was a pretty good service. But have you seen this thing that they're actually changing their terms and conditions so that the Xbox is classed as a sort of an extra device, and you've got to have the Sky Go Extra. I think it's called, which is £5 a month.
Yeah, I did see that, and as soon as I read it, I kind of make the same point I just made with Amazon. It does feel like Sky would rather sell you one of their Sky Go boxes as opposed to have you use someone else's service to as a gateway to them.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting that this has come in since Microsoft have dropped the gold requirement, and you wonder if they had actually done some deal with Microsoft to actually have a cut of that, because they were very much on the ground floor in the UK on the Xbox experience, always behind the paywall. So maybe that's part of the reasoning why the change is coming now, and obviously all was speculation because I have no real knowledge of that. But
I don't think there isn't a Sky app for the Xbox One yet, though, is it? It's only on the 360 Sky. It's just a shame. I mean, I think it's just another. If you were using that, it's another £5 a month that you got to pay to this Sky.
Yeah.
Like they don't get enough out of you already. Anyway, so I just thought that was quite interesting. So one of the final things I want to mention, Media Browser for the iPad's been released.
Yes.
Nice looking app as well. Looks really nice.
Yep, definitely well designed. Well, as everything on the Media Browser line of things tends to be.
So that means you can stream from your Media Browser server and sync up content and use it as remote on the iPad. So there was already an iPhone one. This is a dedicated iPad one. The Xbox Music, Xbox Video apps were updated. Again, minor tweaks, but just trying to really catch up with that app, aren't they?
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
Any fast? Go ahead.
I was just going to say the My Movies update is essential install.
Yes, My Movies. So they're up to build 6 now, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, no new features, but lots of bug fixes, including one really important one, which basically meant your. I just love the way they put it in it. We made a mistake affecting users when creating new databases. Sorry.
Yeah.
Basically, you couldn't create new databases properly at all. So it's a big, very important fix, that one.
Yeah. And one other thing I thought was quite interesting is the Apple TV price is now £79.
Yeah.
And if you want cheap thing to play Netflix on or whatever. It's not a bad price, that.
No, do we think iOS 9 is going to support that version of the Apple TV?
I don't know. I'd be interested to see, because the latest version of Apple TV is really not hackable either, is it? So
No.
there's not a lot you can do with it. At least with the second gen one, you could put ATV Flash on it, and the first gen ones, but on the current ones, there's not a lot you can do with them.
Mm.
But they are a cheap way of watching Netflix, or you could use, I suppose you could Chromecast or whatever. But it's just another set-top box. But my Xbox One gets most use as a Netflix device. It costs considerably more, but
Yeah.
maybe Microsoft should look at getting into an Xbox media player, as you requested a while ago.
Yeah, I mean, I think if I was going for something just to play TV stuff, then the Roku stuff at the base end is pretty good, and that's a lot cheaper than the Apple TV. So, but if you've got any investment in the Apple iTunes videos thing, then yeah, it's no brainer. You go for that.
Yeah, it definitely is. Yeah. But I still like my Xbox because I can play Forza Motorsport. And Jason, your drive has returned into my game for some reason.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Running you off the tracks.
Yeah, it's not as bad as Gary, but yeah, it's been running me off a couple of times.
Oh, no, I actually won a real life motor race the other day, so I'm not as bad on that in reality than I am on track.
Much better in real life.
Yeah.
Right, well, I think that's just about everything we've got time for this week. So just give us Fascinating Tech, Gary, what have you got on there at the moment?
Fascinating Tech, we've just end of the week we should be launching the new issue, which has got some really good articles on it. It's going to be a very good one, following up the voice control and home automation and all sorts of bits plugging into that, which is coming up together really well. It's definitely worth reading that. We've got a fabulous review of the heaviest amplifier I've ever had to carry up the stairs and failed miserably to carry it from Nakamichi. I don't know what they put in the actual amplifier part of it, but it was definitely more than just bricks. It felt like lumps of lead, but it's well worth reading that one as well. It's a fabulous little amp, a bit pricey, but for the money you're still getting a lot of features. And our key feature is all about the unicycle self-balancing one we mentioned, Turbo Wheel, which is I think you saw it at the Gadget Show, didn't you?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it was good.
And I've got some really good video of that in operation and learning how to use it. So that's really cool.
Excellent. And Jace, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at DatabaseJace.
Excellent stuff. Well, thanks guys for joining us. We should be back 8 o'clock next week UK time on Tuesday evening in chat room. You can watch the nice high def 720p version of this now. This on our YouTube channel. I'll include it on the show notes. And we shall see you back here next week.
I'll take care.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.